There's a guy in this movie who just couldn't handle rejection. Let's get into it right now. Welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is doing well out there. And today I'm going to review a slasher film. 1980 slasher film called He Knows You're Alone. I just did my top 10 slasher films of the 80s the other day. If you want to see that video, just scroll down, you'll see it. And this was one of my honorable mentions. I've always liked this film. I haven't watched it in about 5 or 6 years, but I pulled out the DVD last night. I have this big metal case with all my DVDs. And it took me about 10 minutes to find it, but I'm like, I'm going to check this out. So I watched it last night. This movie's rated R, hour 34 minutes long. It had a budget of $250,000, and upon release, it made $4.8 million. Originally, they were going to film this movie in New York City, but their budget got slashed by half before production, so they moved it to Staten Island. This movie was directed by Armand Mastrani, and he directed mostly TV. He did a few movies after this, but mostly TV throughout his career. And in this movie, we have Don Scardino as Marvin. He plays our final girl's ex-boyfriend. She's engaged, about to be married to this other gentleman who goes away for a bachelor party a weekend when all this mayhem takes place. Our main final girl is played by Caitlin O'Henny, who was also in Late Phases, a werewolf movie I liked that was on my top 10 werewolf movie list. Tom Rothling is credited as the killer. He plays the killer in this film, and he has no lines, just being creepy and killing people. And this movie has the distinction of being Tom Hanks' first film role. He plays Elliot in the film. He's only in the movie about 5 minutes, but in those 5 minutes, you can see how likable Tom Hanks is and why he had the career he had in just those 5 minutes. But he kind of just disappears, and there's a reason for that. In the original script, he was supposed to get killed by the killer, but he was so likable in a short amount of screen time, the director decided not to even shoot his kill scene, his death. So he just kind of disappears. He never comes back into the film. Paul Gleason's in this film, and he's most notable for being the principal in the Breakfast Club. And he was also in Trading Places, and he was in Die Hard. He was the police chief that gives John McClane a bunch of shit. And James Rebhorn is in this film, and you'll remember him. He played the Secretary of State in Independence Day. He was in The Game with Michael Douglas, a David Fincher film, and a ton of other films over the years. He's in this film as well. Not a lot, but he's in the film. And basically, the easy synopsis of this film is a young bride-to-be is being stalked by a serial killer who likes to kill women who are about to be married. And at the beginning of the film, there's a cool scene at the beginning of this film I really like. And it's these two girls watching a horror film in this movie theater. And the one girl's kind of getting creeped out. She doesn't like horror films, but she went because her friend dragged her there. And she gets up and goes to the bathroom. And while she's in the bathroom, she starts getting creeped out like somebody's watching her. And she gets freaked out and goes back to the seat. And she tries to get her friend to leave, but her friend's like, no, I want to see this. And this guy, you don't see his face this time, but he comes down and he sits right behind her. And there's a scary moment about to happen, and she's getting ready to scream. And this guy pulls out this large knife. And as the scare happens, she goes to cover her eyes, but she lets out a scream, and he stabs her right in the back. It pulls the knife out, gets up, and walks out. Her head goes slack against her friend's shoulder. And when the scare is over, the scary part's over in the movie, her friend's like nudging her, like, okay, everything's fine now. And she lifts her hand up, and there's blood on it, and she screams. And that's the start of our movie. It's a really effective scene, definitely. It's very creative. I like that scene. It's probably one of my favorite scenes of the whole movie. And it sets up this killer. Then we flash back to this woman getting ready for her wedding. And we see the killer's face. And she turns around and she goes, what are you doing here? And she says his name. Like, he does have a name. They only say it once. And then if you look at the IMDb, they do show a name. But he's also credited as just the killer. And here, she was going to marry him. But she left him for this other guy. And he's pissed and he ends up killing her. And that's why he kills brides-to-be. And we get introduced to this detective. Well, we find out that the detective was the one who was going to marry that woman that the killer killed originally. And now he's a vendetta trying to stop this guy. Well, now this killer has set his sights on Caitlin O'Henny's character because she's about to be married, and he starts stalking her. And we see his face. There's close-ups of it. They're not hiding him at all. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't have a line of dialogue in this whole film. All his job is to look creepy and kill people, and that's all he does. And he's following her around. And throughout this day, and she's getting creeped out by it, but no, people kind of dismiss her. Like she's creeped out, and she says this guy's following her. Nobody wants to believe her, not even Marvin. He's trying to win her back. And he kind of blows her off, too. It's kind of bizarre how nobody wants to believe this chick. And then the killer starts killing people and working his way towards her. And then the night, her one friend decides to stay the weekend with her. And she is at the house by herself, and Caitlin O'Henny's character leaves to take her sister. Her sister in the film, who we see, was a daughter who plays the original daughter in National Lampoon's Vacation. Every one of those movies, they changed the daughter, actress who plays the daughter, but she was in this first, in Christmas or National Lampoon's Vacation, and she plays her sister in this film. And while she's out, her friend's back at the house smoking weed, laying on the floor, listening to music, and the killer cuts her head off and throws it in a fish tank, which is. And when she comes home, she finds the head, and the killer chases her through the house. She gets out. Marvin works as a morgue attendant down the street. She drives her car to the morgue, goes in, asking for help, and the guy follows her there. And this is where we have our final confrontation with the killer. And the killer is chasing her down these long steam tunnels, and she comes to this end. She could keep going. This is some of my problems with the film. She could keep going if she crawled under this debris and keep going, but she doesn't. She cowers in the corner and starts crying. And the killer's about to kill her, but the cop is caught up. He's chased the killer down this hallway too. And the cop shoots the killer and he goes down. Now she's freaking out. She's crying. Now, I know it's hard to say how people would act in this situation. The cop's telling her to get out of her. He has his gun on the killer as his killer's on his face on the ground. And she won't stop freaking out. And he's telling her, get the hell out of her, run back towards the office and go upstairs, and the other police are coming. And she won't move. And he turns his attention away from the killer to this chick. And the killer gets up and stabs him. And then finally she takes off. I'm like, you caused the cop to get stabbed by acting like an idiot. But it's a slasher film. People always do dumb shit, or we wouldn't have a goddamn movie, right? And the killer chases her back down the hall, but Marvin finds her. They go upstairs. And, well, she stabs the guy in the arm a few times, and then they go upstairs and the cops are there, and we have a happy ending. And then we learn that Marvin got her back, and they're about to be married. And we show basically she's in this room by herself getting ready, like we saw the flashback in the beginning of the film with why the killer likes to kill brides-to-be, because his bride-to-be left him for this other guy. And her ex-fiance shows up, and then the movie stops. And it's like they make you think that he's snapped and he's going to kill her now on her wedding day. And that is He Knows You're Alone. I left out a lot of stuff. If you've never seen this film, I recommend checking it out. This isn't the greatest slasher film of all time, but I've always enjoyed it. It has its charms. There are some technical problems with the directing. It's not directed the best. There are some effective scenes, but overall, it doesn't have the artistry of something like Halloween had. But it's a gritty little slasher film that's fun. People do dumb shit. It's not gory. There is some blood and there's a decapitation. They don't show the decapitation. They show you the aftermath. But it's not overly gory. It's definitely trying to keep that Halloween vibe in terms of violence. But this movie was shot in 15 days. As a matter of fact, from writing the script to it being released was less than 6 months. So they didn't have a whole lot of time to do what they did with this film. It was a rush production for sure. And they got it out there, and it made a little bit of money. It wasn't a huge hit. As a matter of fact, this is kind of a forgotten about one. I don't hear a lot of people talk about it. But I've always enjoyed pulling this out from time to time and checking it out. It's a fun movie. It's not the greatest, but you can enjoy it as any slasher film. It's definitely not one of the worst by far. It's definitely okay. And I would give this film a 6.75 out of 10. If you've never seen it, check it out. I think it's definitely worth checking out, and it can be a lot of fun. 6.75 for me for He Knows You're Alone. Have you ever seen this film? If you have, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of this film. Hit the thumbs up. I greatly appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button, all that great stuff. And I want you all to take care of yourselves. I'll be back soon in another video. See you later.